Hey everybody, it's Mandy from Trouble Forge. So I was posting all weekend that Missy at Homesteading Roots and I were working on a bunch of canning projects. So the boys helped us, Dad and Jeremy helped us with peeling potatoes and cutting green beans and all of that. Missy's neighbor Toby is learning how to can, so she was over helping us with potatoes, and it's been really fun to teach her how to can. So we did a lot of projects this weekend. We did peach juice, we did black cherry juice, we did peach cherry sauce, which is basically applesauce, but it's peaches and cherries. We did dry canned potatoes, and we did green beans. I think that was it. We also went to the produce auction yesterday, so we have apples, nectarines, and onions to deal with. So there'll be videos coming about what we're going to do with those. So the thing that I got the most questions on were these dry canned potatoes, which I'm going to talk about in 1 second. I didn't do any of course I took pictures, but I didn't do a lot of footage while we were doing it because we had a ton going on. But I got a bunch of questions about that, about these dry canned potatoes. So this is going to be more of a vlog style, kind of talking you through how to make the dry canned potatoes, but I promise it is so super simple. When Missy and I first learned about this, we're like, oh, this sounds really complicated, and it's really not that complicated. So really quick though, I did get a bunch of questions on how did I do the peach juice and the peach sauce and all of that. So basically, Missy and I both have steam canners, so we had both steam canners going. I posted pictures of that. We had black cherry juice going in one, we had peach juice going in the other. The peach juice is phenomenal. Jeremy doctored it up with just like a little bit of sugar, and it was just phenomenal. So we had that with dinner one night. We had dinner with the neighbors, and it was great. We both have really good neighbors, us and Missy and Jeremy, and it's just been really great to connect with them, especially since we're all newer to this area. As I've mentioned before, Jeremy's from like the next county over, so he knows some people, but you know, it's just been great building community here. So it was great to share some of the stuff that we made with them when we had dinner. And this peach juice is beautiful. It's like pink. We were really expecting it to be more of like a clear color. Maybe that's just because what like we had in our head from what we've seen at the store or whatever, but it's delicious, and I highly recommend that you get some peaches while they're in season and really going pretty cheap for like a half bushel or whatever, and make some peach juice. After we did the peach juice, we had a ton of peach pulp left, of course. After we did the cherries, we had some cherry pulp left. So we took the pits out of the cherries, took the stems off, and then we ran those through the food mill. So we got some really great sauce from that. So that's how we got the peach cherry sauce. I did do peach sauce last year also, and it's really, like I said, essentially it's applesauce, but it's peach sauce. And we just had some cherry, so we threw that in. They're all acidic, so you just process it the same time as applesauce and in the water bath canner and move along. And it's delicious, and it'll be a great add to your shop. So after we did that, we worked on potatoes. So we did potatoes maybe like last week or a week and a half ago, I forget. So we already had some on the shelf. Missy had tried them, and she was like, these are phenomenal. So favorite way to use these is to fry them up with breakfast. We love having potatoes with breakfast, but as you know, taking a raw potato and then peeling it and, you know, whatever, that is not a quick breakfast at all. This you can throw in with eggs. You can just put them in the pan. You could add tomatoes or whatever. You could doctor these up however you want. So process for doing these, so super easy. So you do need to probably plan on it being a whole day, only because your potatoes have to sit in water for 4 to 6 hours. So what we did, we also learned the first batch that we did, we used cured potatoes. They were potatoes I had left from last year that I bought from a local farmer when we still lived in Lancaster, and I'm like, why don't we use these up? Those obviously are a little bit harder to peel because the skins are cured. They're a little bit tougher. And curing just means basically like when you bring it in from the garden or whatever, you let it, kind of like garlic or onions, you let them sit for a week or two-ish or whatever, and kind of let the skin harden so that you can put them in long-term storage for winter. So those had cured skins. A lot harder to peel, took us a little bit more time. The potatoes that we got at the produce auction, grown by a local farmer and probably harvested like the day before that morning, they would be more of like a new potato type skin and just really came right off. We still used peelers and knives and stuff, but I mean, you literally could have sat there with the knife and just taken the skin off. I've definitely seen people not peel them if they were new. I would probably only do that if I grew them myself and I knew they weren't like sprayed or any of that kind of stuff. That's up to your discretion, however you want to handle that. But anyway, so So we peeled all the potatoes. I think we did 1.5 bushels of potatoes on this round. I think last time we did 1 bushel or so. So you just peel your potatoes, cut them into, bite-size-ish pieces. As you get further and further into this food preservation black hole, you will acquire a ton of food grade buckets and stock pots and things like that. So get out your stock pots, your food grade buckets, your big bowls, whatever it is that you have. We put the peels in one. Those go to the chickens. Obviously they could go into your compost or to pigs or whatever your situation is. And then we put our cut potatoes in a bucket. So because we were doing so many this time, Jeremy has this huge, it's like that Bayou Classic brand, huge stock pot. I forget, he told me how big it is and I forget, but it's huge. I mean, it's probably 2 feet tall and 18 inches in diameter. It might even be bigger than that. But so he put the steamer basket in there. We put the potatoes in, filled it with water. And then that way, after they were done soaking, all we had to do was lift it out. We didn't have to try to use this huge heavy pot and dump out all the water. So if you have something like that, that's phenomenal. If you don't, put them in a bowl, put them in a bucket, soak them, and then you can strain them that way. So you want to get some of the starch out. That's the reason that you soak it. So we usually soak it for, like I said, 4 to 6 hours. We put them in the huge pot, cover them with water, let them sit, pull out the steamer basket, and then we're ready to go. So we always can in quarts because, they're a family of 5, depending on who's home. We're a family of 6, depending on who's home. So canning potatoes in pints doesn't make sense for us. So we always do them in quarts. You can obviously do it in pints if you want to. So after they've soaked for 4 to 6 hours, you just put a pat of butter in your jar, a little sprinkle of salt, a little sprinkle of pepper. You can really do whatever you want at this point. You could put in some basil and do basil and parsley or something. You could do an herbed potato. If you just want to keep it simple, you can do just salt and pepper. As I've said a million times before, you don't need to do butter, salt, pepper, parsley, basil, or any of those things. You can literally just do the potatoes just plain. That's totally up to you. The butter, salt, pepper, herbs do not affect the canning process. It's literally just for flavor, so don't get too hooked up on that. Okay, so you're going to put in, what we do is we put in a pat of butter. So we line up all of our jars on the table, drop a pat of butter in each one, drop salt and pepper in each one, and then we start filling with potatoes. As with most things, when you're pressure canning, you want a 1-inch headspace. So you'll notice that this is obviously not totally full. So the potatoes, when we put them in, we did our 1-inch headspace because some of the moisture is released and all of that. They do shrink a little bit. So that's why you're going to get this kind of headspace. As a general rule of thumb, as long as your food is half or more, it's safe to put on the shelf as long as it's sealed, which this obviously is. So, it's going to kind of gather at the bottom when you pour it into your bowl or your pot or whatever to cook them later. Obviously, it's still going to make sense. So don't get too hyped up on this either. So you're going to put your seasoning, whatever you want to do, put your potatoes in, leave your 1-inch headspace, wipe your rims with vinegar, put your lid on, put your ring on, typical procedure for that. And then you're going to drop them into the pressure canner. So these have to be pressure canned, can't water bath can them safely. And you're going to do these for 40 minutes. So really just a standard pressure canning type procedure. Let your steam run for 10 minutes. You're going to do your 10 pounds of pressure, assuming you're in the same elevation as me. If you're in a different elevation, higher or something, make sure you don't need to do something different. But 10 pounds of pressure, you do these for 40 minutes. As always, make sure it comes back down to 0 before you take the weight off and take the lid off and all that kind of stuff. But it's seriously that simple. Peel your potatoes, put whatever seasoning you want in the jar, fill the jar with potatoes, leave 1-inch headspace, pressure can it. It's seriously that easy. So why are we dry canning instead of wet canning? I don't know what you would call the other one. So Missy, when she lived in Florida, she had done potatoes with water because that's really the procedure that we always kind of saw and were familiar with. And she said they just got really grainy. And after doing this, I talked to several people and they said, yeah, mine were also grainy too. I had not canned potatoes prior to this year. I always just stashed them in our basement at the old house. It was pretty cool, so I was just stashed them there. Right now I'm stashing some in our pantry. Hopefully we'll have our root cellar done here at some point and I can stash them down there. It'll be nice and cool. But she wanted to, they didn't have a basement when they lived in Florida, obviously, because I don't know if anyone has a basement in Florida. So she's like, well, let's can some. So she had done it with water and she just said it was okay, but even for mashed potatoes, the texture was kind of weird. definitely for potato salad, it was kind of weird. So we saw the dry canning method and we're like, you know, let's do it this way and try it. And so these are seriously ready. You could pour this into a bowl, mix in your mayo relish, whatever, however you make potato salad, mix that into a bowl, and these are seriously ready to go. So like if you get invited to a picnic on the fly, you have potatoes ready to go for potato salad or whatever. Like I said, our favorite way to use them is frying them up with breakfast. You know, you can buy the canned potatoes at the store, but I know where these came from. Well, I know they came from a local farmer. I don't know the farmer personally. But if we grew them ourselves, you know what I'm saying? So there's just a lot of advantages to doing it this way. The price we paid for potatoes, I didn't figure out the price on these, but it was cheap. We did not pay a lot for potatoes. So this is just a super economical way to get something on the shelf that is really delicious, making your own convenience meals. As you probably know, it's the month of August, so we're doing the Every Bit Counts challenge. I would say Missy and I are going about it a little bit differently in that some days we're doing just teeny projects, but I feel like just naturally in the month of August, you have these large preservation days. When it's applesauce day, peach sauce, whatever you're doing, peaches. I mean, this was really quite an undertaking, only because we did such a mass amount. But if you have lots of helpers to help cut and peel and all of that, man, we did a lot of work this weekend with 6 kids and, you know, just constant chaos happening around us. And if you have a community that really enjoys this type of work and loves filling their shelves, and there's just something so like, I don't know, simple but not simple, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's a lot of learning to this, but just something so simple about making your own food and putting it on the shelf, and then knowing this winter that we have all this delicious food ready to go, and really make your own convenience meals. You know, we don't buy things like pre-made, I don't know, French fries and like TV dinners or whatever. Like, we don't buy that kind of stuff. As you know, if you've been following our health journey, we don't buy that kind of stuff. So we have to make our own convenience food. This is the like awesome way to support your local farmer, use up the stuff in your garden and fill your shelf. So again, this is so super simple. If you have questions about this, let me know. You really just need a pressure canner and potatoes in jars. It's seriously that simple. So let me know if you have questions. I think probably the next video I'll be bringing you will be talking about nectarines, which will be a new add to the shelf for me. I've mentioned before, I'm trying to put all new things on the shelf this year because I really had a good bit of the stuff I did from last year, all the normal things, tomato sauce and applesauce and blah, blah, blah. So I'm really trying to do a lot of new things. So we're going to be doing nectarines next. And then we're going to be doing French onion soup. That'll be a new shelf add for me. We do have apples, so we'll be doing apple juice. I have no apple juice on the shelf. I am really, Missy too, we're really trying to go hard on the juice this year because, you know, it's just nice to have non-sugar filled crap drinks ready to go. You know, obviously we can get milk from our local farmer and all that kind of stuff, and that's great, and you know, we have really great water and all that kind of thing, but having something on the shelf that the kids can go for that they really enjoy, that, you know, there's natural sugar in it, but it doesn't have all the crap. So we're going really hard on the juices this year, so we'll be doing apple juice. We'll talk a little bit about that here in the next couple weeks. So I hope you're enjoying August, making the most of all of the fresh produce that's available. If you have questions about anything, as always, let me know. We'll see you next time.